Hello, welcome back to my ATM Gravitas 2 Let's Play series. So it's been a few weeks and I kind of hit a little bit of a wall again on what I could be willing to edit and what I could not be willing to edit. So last episode, we were really working on getting into some Greg chemistry and AE2, which has been fantastic. And you might notice that the room behind us is actually clear. So let me show you just kind of what I got up to. The big change you're going to see around here is actually going to be in the storage building. Additionally, I needed to seek out ender pearls because I went into the Flux networks. And so we have a powered spawner now for endermen here. This was a pain, for sure. Anyone has an idea of how I should do to get ender eyes? Let me know. Oh, Waystone! My god, I'm lucky! Alright, this looks solidly in the warped zone though, so that's great. Let's see if I can make another platform. Do I have my building gadget with me? That is the question I have. Come on, Timothy. When he stops being blind, hopefully he'll come over here and say hello. I was not expecting Timothy, to be honest. Timothy! Timothy, you scared the bejesus out of me. We are not going to fight you in any fashion that is kind. Also, whose hide is that, Timothy? Whose hide? Whew, enough of that. We did our time. Why are you in my vehicle? You weren't invited. Also, you look like 12 times bigger when you're in my vehicle. Don't like it. I'm trying to grind out some levels here so that I can work on that powered spawner. I started a power spawner during spawn. I was working on a powered spawner during stream, and I need 8 levels total, and I'm not there yet. So I am just grinding this out and trying to get back on track to finish the next episode. Oh no, Tabitha the Pathetic. I can't go fight Tabitha the Pathetic. Oh Jesus, Tabitha the Pathetic is here. No, Tabitha! Oh no. Oh no. See, this is why I don't fight in this game. This is why. I get murdered by the professor of the pathetic. I was not dying too often. I just died once. I want my stuff back. Where's my stuff? I like how I'm just hiding in here. This is very normal behavior here, guys. Ow. Just need the levels. I don't need to fight Tabitha. Tabitha is busy. Like, she's got things going on. Ow. Hit me hard. Hi, Tabitha. You're back. Oh, Tabitha! What was that? What was that? Why do you have such ability to shove people? I am innocent. I am innocent of everything. Okay. I was not innocent. Alright, let's fight some zombies. It's nighttime now. I don't got a lot of health, but that's what the spear's for. Oh, and they're armored. That's fine. I just feel like the butchering knife does work on... This is fine. If I were to pull all of it from here, how many levels do I get? Ah, just under the steel. It's more damn. Oh, baby! Oh, come on, that's just not fair. See that child in there? So now I have the powered spawner here. I did upgrade my capacitor so it moves a little bit faster, and this helps me get my ender eyes. It's definitely not in its permanent position. I'm thinking it might go in a guard tower over that way with my other mobs. And this really helped me out with the Flux networks, which were recently added, which is a great way to wirelessly transmit our energy. And it also doesn't get impacted by voltage, so that is a really big help. So with this, maybe it is time we look at Flux networks. So I want to take a look at what price those are the cost of Flux networks. This got added recently and did kind of change my thoughts on what I want to do here. So we're gonna need Flux box here. Now that we've done this, you know, what PTFE is the right one. I keep calling it PTSD. So I gotta stop doing it. So it's redstone on bedrock with obsidian over it. Points provide energy to something. So we'll need these flux cores, which I have ender basalt. So once again, ender pearls. Ender dust is something that is a mix of potassium and beryllium. So we might be able to make that, but making ender pearls out of it requires the implosion compressor, which we don't have too much. We do have some TNT, but I wouldn't. Let's not aim for that solution. Okay. So for what I'm seeing, I will need ender delios for each of these. I get 4 from there, so I want at least 1 each of a plug and a point. I need to figure out this redstone situation and obsidian situation. And I know exactly where I want to put something for this, which is over by our lava platform. Hey, no, go in the lava. Thank you. Did I just beat him up with garlic? Maybe. Down here is my bedrock. My memory, you throw down all of this underneath the obsidian and then you press on it? No. How do you do this, Flux Dust? Left click the obsidian. Okay. This always scares the bejesus out of me. All right. I have some of this vernium coal. Verhement coal. I'm going to use some of that. Oh god, each flux block costs one of these. Each of these costs an item. Okay. The next thing you might see here is I do have a few combustion generators here with some flux networks attached to both ends, which have really helped me fix some of my energy. But this is what's been keeping me away, guys. Let's be honest. I updated our storage and it took a while. I was working on a time lapse to make this work, but I ran out of the energy. I'm going to be honest. So, and I'm still working on the details. So you can see up there is not quite finished for everything. But what I have done is I have set up drawers on these warehouse looking shelves. And these actually all connect via trim along the outside here. And that trim goes all the way into where our AE2 system is. So for things like cobblestone, I actually have these 2x compacting drawers. And then for some of the things like sticks, I do the same. And yeah, just kind of growing things out. So this is more blocks, nature, and I have ingots right now. Ingots will probably move over to this side. This side isn't online yet because I haven't felt the need to. Storage can only be so fun. This is a series of dust types that I have. This is materials I need to process. Here's some stuff that's in transition of processing. I don't have the plant balls or sticky resin location yet. And here's just one vault that is not my favorite location. So I might need to do some work on this. And I have all this connected via Flux networks here now on the storage. So I got a storage bus here to our item silo, as well as to our drawer controller. And with these storage buses, one of the things I did, really the only thing I did was set the priorities a bit more. So you can see my priority to my bulk storage is at 10,000. So if possible, I wanted to go into drawers. And then my priority for my vault is 5,000. Because the goal is not to put most of my storage into AE2 drives. And that runs under the build here. And I have a big line that goes up to the top, which is where I'm planning on our, you might see our ME controller is moved up there. That is where I'm planning on our beginning auto-crafting area. And this is just kind of an interim space. I have right now my first HV macerator here for the byproducts. So this has just been working to grind things down, and I'm manually putting stuff in. One of the next big builds is going to be an ore processing factory, so I'm really excited. And I put this little facade here just to kind of give a little break, which I think looks lovely. And this is going to be like an office little build out. Right now I have my drives in here as well as my flux storage. Right now we just have the basic flux storage, and it's in orange, which is one of my favorite colors. And right now I don't have wireless charging on, but I think, let me see here. I don't have wireless charging on yet, I just realized. So let's just say, hey, if it's in the hotbar, it can charge. And that might be able to do what we need. We can apply that and offhand and main hand. There we go. Now you can see that our stuff is charging. And then if I do bring my tools in there, I can get the charge on those as well. In the last episode, I really struggled with getting the patterns done. So I'm going to show just a really quick snippet here of where I had my interim polyethylene. As I'm looking at the PTFE here, polytetrafluoral ethylene, my big goal is to look and identify what is the lowest tier, the main tier here. This will be our method. We'll need oxygen in there. We'll have hydrofluoric acid and chloroform. So let's look at the chloroform. That is methane and chlorine. So chlorine I can get from a salt, and methane I can get from kapok trees, which is one way. And it's a decent amount, plus a decent amount of this I will use. And then the other way is going to be hydrogen gas. I could use that for a fourth of that. Lots of distillation options. I don't want to deal with the petrochemistry here for my methane, at least not this first run. We're going to work from the centrifuge likely here, because I do need some sticky sap as well, and I have thousands of kapok. Hydrofluoric acid is the next bit. But then the electrolyzer has it with mica and lepidolite. Topaz has it as an option. I'm taking all of the ones I see available right now. Uranium, we're not going that route. And then blue topaz. I'm going to check what minerals we have already. So let's see. Topaz? Haven't pulled up any of that. Mica, I do have 1,000 mica here ready to go, and some dust already. So I definitely get the dust going on and start processing some of this crushed version. Potassium and aluminum I could potentially pull from here, but aluminum is renewable for us from the clay line. So I am just going to purify this and then crush it back. Thank gosh for this method. We'll need an HV chemical reactor here for the polyfluoroethylene. So that'll be something I'll have to make. We're going to go more manual on this, which I loathe. But I'm not going to do a circuit for each pattern. We are going to have so many patterns. And this recipe is LV for the kapok. So I'm going to set this up with a little network of itself. The nice thing about temporary setups is I have a large amount of polyethylene now, and the next time I need this, I will be able to make it, hopefully, with this beastie. Yeah, I have about 168 buckets, which is great. I have kapok here, and I'm looking to get these items out of it, and then methane as well. So let's work on this. It looks like the centrifuge is going to be our main method. And I don't know if I have a spare one of these. I do not, so let's just whip one of these together. The nice thing is there are 4 potential outputs for this, so we can just use one drawer. Right, so we need methane gas and chlorine. I'm going to put chlorine up at the top here and drain it down. And methane is going to be the piece that we need the most of. Sorry, it's going to be the hardest one to get, I think. Wrong words. All right. I'm actually going to put a super tank up. Have a second chlorine super tank, I guess. Let's stash this here. We got 2, so hydrochloric acid and chloroform. The quad pipe strikes again. Fluid filter. And when making chloroform, I want to just check the quantity. So it looks like the hydrochloric is going to have more. So I'll put the super tank up there. All right, with hydrofluoric acid, this is the stuff that we then need to combine in our HV chemical reactor for the tetrafluoroethylene. So we will actually be carrying these to the side. So I will keep... So that's the reason why I'm just going to put a drum here and we'll discharge this. With that, I should be able to get this chemical reactor Excellent. These 2 pieces for our first tetrafluoroethylene. We'll be partially there, not fully. Hey, we got it. All right. And then the next step thing is straight up just LV, where we combine it with oxygen. All right, we're just going to do this recipe here over in our chemical reactor. Kind of a low fanfare for this, but we have our tetrafluoroethylene, and now we're just going to combine it with oxygen. Making sure our circuit's there, so it just needs to be circuit 1. Oh, this is fantastic. That is a difficult one to make, apparently. I'm so excited for getting patterns and things. Gosh, I cannot believe we did that. Very much feels anticlimactic doing this in just our fluid solidifier and our workshop, but we'll set up something fancier later. But this is massive. It's gonna save us so much materials as we make patterns. And we're back here at the HV Prospector, and I am so happy I made that effort. Look at that, 16 blank patterns. That's going to be a massive help as we progress. Now with patterns, what you do is you put them in a pattern encoding terminal. 80 patterns, perfect. We worked hard for those, I will say. And there definitely wasn't any other distractions that happened. Okay, there was one. This machine is our last distraction we had. And you could see that I actually got all the way up to another right drill, but unfortunately it's out of fuel at the moment, so it lives here. But gosh, it is fun to run, but it may not be as efficient as a mining gadget. But I mean, efficiency is not the name of my game generally. Not yet. That's when factories are built. So that's kind of the background of what we were up to. And I now need to look at setting up our autocrafting area. And it's not ready to start. I have gotten some processes started up. I do have some dense covered cables here. The smart cables do require glowstone dust, which I don't really have a lot of, not glowstone dust, but liquid glowstone as a component, and I don't have a lot of that. So for the moment, we're going to be doing our channels blindly, aka I'm going to have to pay attention and mentally do the math, which is not my strong suit, if you know me. But let's work on laying out some stuff. While I was in the previous space and in the interim one downstairs, I did have some machines that I'd already started building for this, as well as some patterns. You can see that they're not perfect. And right now, the extended pattern provider, which I absolutely want, is unfortunately in the next tier. So the current pattern provider only provides 9 options here. And in this pack, there is the extended option. So the extended pattern, but you can see that's an EV, which is the next tier. So unfortunately, not meant for us. So I'm going to have to adapt to that idea a little bit differently. So I have a few ideas on how I could do this. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to implement anything weird, but I do want to get at least the circuits up and some of the base AE2 things going so that I can just demand circuits. And that is what I'm planning on laying out in this room. I don't have the circuits themselves will eventually go closer to the clean room in HV. So this is really for our initial auto crafting. And I'm hoping to keep some stuff here like wires and plates and those types of things. First up in this consideration is I do want cable anchors. I want cable anchors because I want to get access to as many sides of our AE2 controller here as possible without connecting them together. So you can see right now that those 2 tables connect, which is not what I want. But if I put in a cable anchor here and I put in my cable attached, you could see that these guys don't connect because there's a break. The other option is to dye the cables themselves. However, I don't necessarily have, but I don't have the dye yet available. So that is going to be something I want to look into in the future, but it's just not here for the moment. So again, if I come out of this side, I'm going to want a cable anchor to stop these from connecting. I think that'll give us as many options as possible, but for the moment I don't plan on extending this one or this one, but each of these dense cables can handle 32 and we'll have to adapt to that. We do have some options with the P2P tunnels to condense our channels down, which I am not the be-all end-all expert of AE2, so I strongly recommend. There are lots of YouTube videos on how to do AE2 with channels. Additionally, there's this built-in guide that you get as a result of some things. So it talks about auto-crafting, bytes, supports, all those things. Not everything is perfect. Like I will say the Certus here isn't exactly the way Gravitas 2 does, but the example setups I find are really helpful. I keep it here in my backpack because sometimes I get confused. Normally I would put these in facades underneath things, but I think for this case, because I have so much space in here, I'm actually going to avoid that. I want to build some bricks down, I think, to kind of showcase that this is the space. I want to be able to access back there if needed. And I do want the superconductor power back there. So maybe I actually want to put this a little bit further back and make the walkway in front of the windows. Because, I mean, who doesn't want to look out at the view sometimes? So I'll put this actually right here instead. And I think let's start with setting up our two pieces. One is our crafting storage area. One is our auto crafting piece. And I'm not perfect on these, so if you have tips, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just going to work with how they work for me. So I'm just going to put these together for this because I'm just going to make one co-processing unit until I get to a larger factory. These just have 1K in them for both those storage units. If you want to have bigger ones, you're actually able to clear these crafting storage units, which I really love, is you can right click and pull them apart and then you can combine them again if you want them to be bigger, which you just need to combine back in a canner here. So I'm just going to throw that back in, but oh no, not the disc. I don't want it in the disc. This is fine. This may be why I do not demonstrate AE2. Maybe when I get more comfortable talking about it, but with the way I talk and how I place words that aren't the right words in things, I feel like I would just be more confusing because I'm just going to walk past my misstatements. And I think with AE2, you're going to want to know the right words, the real words, not just the words that the person is saying to fill the empty space in their head. And we have really upped our resources here with aluminum as well as our stainless steel. This is not even the first batch that I'm pulling from here. I think this is the first time the EDFs have actually been off. So I definitely am ready for the next video. I need another building. I need to get into EV. My God. Or the rest of HB. Let's be honest. I'm still not there. But you could see, I think earlier on I said I was running a little bit low. But now from aluminum, we have almost 1,000 of that. And then from stainless steel, a little over 500. I want to make sure I'm still keeping my processing and my ores going on, especially now that I have an HV compactor. Especially now that I have an HV macerator. All right, so my crafting processing unit is online, which means I could request crafts if they were on the server, on the AE2 server. So next up, I'm going to put my molecular assemblers on, and I'm just going to put them around one ME processor at the moment. And the more you surround your ME processor with pattern providers, the more it can do, is my understanding. I think the only recipe I currently have for a crafting recipe is the copper nickel wire. So if I were to request more of that, let's see if I can catch it because it takes a while. So now you can see I finally have a crafting option here on my piece. It comes up at the top. I'm going to sort it. Really, I'm still trying to figure out how to keep it doing, putting my crafting things on the top. It's been a while, so if you guys have a quick one, I said pin auto-crafted items to the front row, but it doesn't seem to be doing what I want. So let me know if you guys have any tips for that. But I'm just going to click in here. Let's say I want to craft 20 of these. Oh, I need some ME wire first. So once I have that, I will show you how this works. But let's continue setting up the ME section of this. I do not have wireless. I do not have the LV. I don't have the ME superconductor yet, but I currently have some wire mills, advancers, alloy mixers, extruders, all those things. kind of want to separate them into types, but maybe I don't worry yet. And that's a future concern. We probably won't need more past this point. So let's kind of line it up with, I don't think we have more than 8 in here at the moment. So 3 and 3. So yep, we just have 6 at the moment. So I'm just going to extend this here and kind of center it around that piece. There's 5 and 6. Put our ME machines in. I'll put the circuit assembler first. I'm just letting these go as they are, I'm going to be honest. So there we go for a line of ME machines. And now I'm just going to use the copper nickel here because I don't have that LV superconductor. And we'll attach these to the back. And this is why the flux point is so helpful. So I'm gonna, once I have these wires connected, I will put the flux point in the middle. I think the loss stays the same with these wires, so I'm gonna keep this as close to the middle as possible. And it's already defaulted to connecting to mine because it's been up before. And now you can see that these are gaining power in there. One thing to note is this is only scheduled for 1 amp of MV. So if I have request more than 1 MV thing at a time, it may cause a problem. So I am just curious about it now, so I kind of want to do it. So I have both copper, nickel, and bronze as processing patterns for our alloy smelter here. One note I will say is you need a pattern encoder to process these. And when I was setting up the copper, nickel, and the bronze, it was defaulting to a different type of copper ingot and nickel. So you're just going to be able to, you can replace that by searching in here, grabbing the correct type and just collecting over it. So I guess let me just show you an example of this. So I want to make bronze, right? And I find my recipe for bronze in JEI, and I want to make sure I'm using ingots. I don't need a NELD because why do the processing? But I want both ingots because that's generally how I'm storing stuff. And you'll see that it's tin and copper here. Was this the bronze one? Nope, it was not the bronze one. It was the copper nickel. Yes, trust me with your knowledge, folks. Okay, so I plus here, you can see that the terra firma one's there, but the nickel is this weird one. So let's grab the nickel I have. And I could say, okay, well, I want this in here. And then just to be safe, I will say, I actually want this copper. And I can code that recipe. Make sure you press your encoding recipe. And there's a variety of types you can do. You can do crafting recipes, which uses the molecular assemblers, but there's also smithing tables you can connect, or stone cutting, which I think is amazing, especially with all of these different pieces from Art Create Deco. So I will be using that. I haven't given it a try though, so hopefully it works. For copper nickel, you can see I have a few here, but now I should be able to request 10. It's processing. This is running right now. And there's 2 things you want to be careful of with this. You see how it's not outputting yet? So you need to set your output to the bottom, and you're also going to want to disable the, allow the inputs from your output side, because they're going to come from your ME provider and then get put into the machine and then go back out. So you need to let that relationship happen. And then if I have things active, you can see that they would be right here. Right now it says that it's missing 2, so that's odd. I'm going to put 2 in there to clear it and see if that continues or if it's just at that moment. So let's craft 10 and see. I think it was just because the setup was still occurring. All right. In my previous playthrough, I actually just mostly had LV crafting machines here, but I think I'm going to go with aluminum or MV just due to the fact that aluminum is sustainable, like renewable. So I should be able to renew as much of those as I'd like. So excellent. So now we can make copper nickel on demand. I would also like to make the wire. So copper nickel wire and the copper wire. Let's grab that too. I believe the nether quartz fiber here is also a wire recipe. Let's just do a quick check. Yep, it's a wire mill recipe. And all of these look like they're on 0 or 1. that is going to be the big kicker there about the circuit, is if you have a different circuit, it's my understanding you need a different machine. So I think 0 or 1 can both use this, but I'm not positive. So let's put this in here and make those copper nickel wires here. Because remember, I'm a little nervous about these on the back, so it's a great possibility to just make 2 times here or more to solve that. So I need to craft the wire, but I also have this ability to craft the 2 times copper nickel wire. So I'm actually going to use this one to start. Actually, before we do that, let's set the input and output on this correctly. Trying to remember if there's a way to copy your settings. I don't know. So if you guys know if there's a way, let me know. But let's make 10 of these to start. And this is going to need to craft both here and then in here as well. So you can kind of see it flashing. Since this can only do 1 at a time, it's not using both. Since only 1 at a time and materials is available, it's only using 1 of these. But if there was more, I'm sure it would. And that's already finished. Oh my gosh, isn't that amazing? And we got the 2 times copper nickel. This went so quickly, I couldn't tell if that wire is going to cause a problem. So let's try this again. I'm going to grab my copper nickel here, and I have to do this quickly. So I'm going to request more copper nickel, and then I'm also going to do those quartz fibers. I guess let's do the quartz fibers first. So I'm going to sort by number of items still and just go by craftable now, because everything that's currently in those processors, those ME providers would be able to see once we go to craftable. So I just want to test this once. So start. Looks like it's working, so excellent. Gosh, now I'm trying to think of a way to do this. All right, so I'm going to make up some circuits because those are always useful. So let's start some circuits and also craft some wires. So it looks like I wouldn't be able to, I'm not going to be able to muck with the cable back there just because I don't have another processor. So excellent. I'm not worried then. And this is my dream. This is why AE2 is here. Look at those beauties. Just bringing what it needs into this machine and then doing it. I'm so happy. Thank you, circuits. Thank you for what you're doing. And I already know that we are coming close to the end of an episode length. I try not to go over 30 minutes. I'm going to do more editing as I record versus editing after I'm done. I stare deeply into the sun here. So let's do a quick little time lapse here. I'm going to try to line these up. Let's scoot over here. Yes, right here. Man. No, anyway, time lapse. Yes. So I'll bring you in once this looks better. All right, so this is what I've done. I've done a mixture of the blackwood trapdoors and the andesite catwalks here so that when you come up, there's this kind of an open space here. I might make it a room. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll put my bed here. Maybe this is where I'll live, looking out at the ocean. In the attic of one of my buildings. Who's to say? And I've left space here to expand, but kind of a good example of what I'm thinking right now is this system with the ME providers, double set of machines, another ME provider, and then I might be able to fit another set up there, but it is going to start stressing the amount of channels my ME processor can have. I also upgraded my storage unit to 4K here at the bottom because I had some more complicated things, and I'm kind of working out how I want these wired. Definitely anticipate a few changes in there, but we'll see how that goes. And then over on this side, the big choice I made with the blackwood was I didn't want to block out these windows. I thought that wouldn't really make sense to me. Same with the reason why those catwalks are here. Down the center, I do have some copycat boards with some frog lights in them. And then I love the fact that you can actually jump out of these attic plank windows and get a chance to go look on top of the roof here and see things. Like, I really like that interactiveness. I do need to go figure out, I need some I need materials so badly for the next round. You know, I said we were a little bit starved at the beginning of this round. Yeah, I need nickel and tin like no one's business. So thank you so much for joining me this last episode. I had a lot of fun. I made a lot of progress with my store. I'm really excited to get back into getting resources and building up this whole area. And let's get further into HV next round. Bye.